Welcome back. All right, so how about a panic index? Normally I do these on Wednesday, but yesterday I was pre-recording videos and just going bonkers with that for next week while I'm on vacation. I'm up to I think it's about 15 that I've recorded so far that are going live next week. It's going to be a lot. There's a whole countdown though, so look forward to that. But anyways, I'm doing the panic index today. One day late, but hey, better late than never, depending on your point of view on panic indexes. So at the top, we've got a different magnet. I've never used the "How you doing" before. That's of course from friends, and just hey, fans are really fans of their team. Down here, this phone, this symbolizes call us when the draft lottery starts because our season is basically done. You have panic here, which is a Simpsons panic. The meh, I don't know, how do we feel? The happiness, which is again Simpsons related, and which is it's not going great. It's not full panic, but it's not going great right now. So we'll start things off with Dallas. Dallas, it feels like, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mix. I'm going to put them here. I do feel like with Dallas lately, the fact that they've had a decent record, even with Ottinger out and minus Heiskanen, I think Dallas is in pretty good shape for a strong second half of the season. So got my fingers crossed on that one. Dallas Stars probably out of the hunt for first in the division, but a strong second half could get them right back into it. St. Louis, it really depends on the day with St. Louis. Now they've had a good road trip, like the wins over Calgary and Vancouver, great. But we'll see how it goes from here, and so I'm putting them right kind of in the middle here because they're not above the playoff line, but they're not far from the playoff line. And depending on which game of theirs you watch, you might think this team's a playoff team or this team's nowhere near the playoffs. It really depends on the day. Florida, I think things are pretty happy in Florida. Now I would put them at the top. However, they did have that 4-game losing streak. Now they've come out of that. They've won the last couple of games in a row. But I don't see any reason to have them lower than that, but I'm also not going to put them right at the very top. But if you want to do that on your own board you have at home, go right on ahead. Nobody's going to get mad at you for it. It's a fun thing to do. You just put that logo at the top and you go, cool, awesome. You can do that on your fridge. If anybody asks you why is that magnet at the top of the fridge, because I'm happy right now. It's a happiness measurement. So yeah, Florida's had a decent run. Nashville, I'm going to put Nashville here, which is the equivalent of on the line. Because, again, with Nashville, it seems to depend on the game, too. They are above the playoff line. And with the way the Kings have been playing, Nashville's got a pretty solid spot in the playoffs. Although there are a couple of teams in the West that could challenge for a playoff spot. I don't think Minnesota's completely out of it yet. I think Arizona has that potential. And St. Louis, previously mentioned Blues. There are enough teams in the West that have a chance. Calgary in there, too. Yeah, Nashville probably needs to have a decent record in the second half of the season, but I don't see any reason to put them on the downside of that. Minnesota, they've had a good run lately, but I'm not going to put them in complete panic, but I still feel like there's some discourse amongst Wild fans and just in general. It feels like this is a team that should be better than what they are. Maybe haven't manage the cap as well as other teams, and there's some head scratching moments here and there with this team. But again, they're back to NHL 500, 21 and 5, and we'll see if they can get back into the hunt. I hope they do because it's one of my wife's favorite teams, so I'd like to see them make the playoffs for her sake. Vegas, I'm going to put Vegas here. Vegas has come through their really rough patch. The thing is, they're still dealing with a lot of injuries. They did get Aiden Hill back. That helps. Aiden Hill, a huge difference in net between Hill and the other goaltenders for Vegas. And I don't mean that as shade towards the other goaltenders in Vegas. Just Aiden Hill has been right in the zone. And coming back from his injury, he went right back to where he was before. So that's bad news for the rest of the West. And that's why I have them on the positive side. Vancouver, it's still happy town in Vancouver. Absolutely. All-Star weekend should just be the Vancouver Canucks weekend. Don't be surprised when Michael Bublé drafts a team of all Canucks, since he's the celebrity team captain. He's making picks. Don't be surprised when it's all Canucks. But yeah, I think the Canucks are in really good shape. If they play 500 hockey from here, they end up with over 100 points. It is a weird time as a hockey fan right now. I'm good with it though. I'm perfectly good with it. Pittsburgh. I'm going to put Pittsburgh down in this region. Pittsburgh below the playoff line. There are still some concerns with this team going forward, and we'll see if those concerns are well founded or not. The Pittsburgh Penguins are they're an entertaining team to watch, but there's still some games they have where you can tell they don't quite have a contending roster necessarily. So are they better making the playoffs? Does it send a good message if they maybe miss the playoffs and then Dubas has to make changes, or is that just pointless because Malkin, Crosby, and Letang are going to be another year older next season, so you want to win now? We'll see what they do. Toronto. If I was doing this a week ago, Toronto would have been down here. But as it is, I feel like Toronto belongs here. Samsonov, shutout last night, looked great. They win a game 1-0, very un-Toronto-like game for them to win. This is a team that it does feel like is potentially going to be dangerous in the second half of the season. Could have a really strong run. And then, yes, then we get into the playoffs, and who knows what happens there. But getting to the playoffs every year, there's a certain amount of impressiveness to that I know people don't necessarily agree with, but I do think there's that segment of the population that says, if it's Toronto, it sucks. So for Toronto, I'm going to put them right there for now. Columbus. Is Columbus at the panic level, or is Columbus here? I'm going to put Columbus here. Now, are there reasons to be panicked right now? Well, you're not getting production from some of your guys that you were earlier in the season, so the offense has dropped off, but it's kind of understandable. It might be hard for players to focus when they're looking at the standings. They're so far down. It might be hard to get up for those games when you're losing so often. So I'm going to just put them down next to the phone that's going to call them when the draft lottery's on. And if Columbus won that draft lottery and got themselves Celebrini, might be a really entertaining roster they could put together. Fantilli's good. I like the Voronkov, Chinakov, Marchenko line. I think there are some positives with this team going forward, but yeah, they're waiting for next year. Calgary. It really depends on the week with Calgary, but it feels like lately, yeah, you could put them on the positive side. They've done quite well lately. It's dragged them right back into the playoff hunt, and so we'll see whether or not they can have a strong second half and make it to the playoffs. But I'm going to put Calgary above the line. I guess I'm just more positive and upbeat today when doing a panic index. I was going to say power rankings. I was, because that might be related to the playlist I'm working on. But yeah, Calgary. That's where I'm putting them. New York Rangers. You know what? Their recent play hasn't been great. And they've been playing down to teams that are well beneath them in the standings. That's not great. The goaltending numbers, below 900 for both their starter and their backup, depending on who you believe the starter and the backup is right now. I mean, Shesterkin's got to be their starter, but Quick at points this season has looked like maybe he'll steal that job. But yeah, the Rangers, it's not going great. So it's weird to have a team that's first in their division and have them below that spot. But it feels like that's where the Rangers belong right now. Islanders. You know what? I'm going to put them here. I'm gonna chicken out and just put them next to the look, because the New York Islanders just hired a new coach. The results so far kind of mixed because they've had a mixed season, and I think the jury's still out on whether or not the Islanders are going to pull themselves back above the playoff line or if they're just going to flounder. So I'm going to put the Islanders there. You guys can let me know your thoughts on where I've placed the Islanders. Again, when I started the Panic Index, it was never meant to be anything serious. It was just kind of here's a fun way of looking at teams in the league and where you're going to put everybody. And then over the years, it's kind of become serious, which is weird. Boston. Boston, you know what? Sure. I mean, they're near the top of the league standings-wise. They just lost their 10th game in regulation last night. They were the last team in the NHL to get 10 regulation losses. I don't see any reason not to have Boston at the top of the board. They're playing well. They're getting production from various sources. McAvoy's playing fantastic. Both goaltenders have looked quite good. I don't see any reason not to have them at the top. Tampa Bay. I'm putting Tampa Bay at the top as well. The Lightning look like they're back. This is bad news for the rest of the NHL, including my Bruins there, because Tampa Bay looks really dangerous right now. So if the Tampa Bay Lightning are as good as they've looked over, I'd say the last 3 weeks, A, they're a playoff team, obviously, and B, could very well slide into one of those top 3 spots and push out either Toronto, Florida, Florida, Boston. Whoever slides in that second half of the season, Tampa Bay could be the one that grabs that spot from them. Detroit, I'll put Detroit just underneath. Just underneath, still very happy. Not in the same region as Tampa Bay, but Detroit still pretty happy with things. And Detroit looks like they should be a playoff team as well. So that's good news for Detroit. I don't know how many years I've been doing Panic Index necessarily. I don't have stats on that because how would you have stats on Panic Index? It doesn't make any sense. But I don't feel like Detroit spent a lot of time in the happiness side of things when I do Panic Indexes. Usually by this time of year I'm down next to the they're waiting for next year kind of thing. So yeah, Chicago waiting for next year. Yep, that's pretty basic. Chicago's waiting for next year. They're signing all their players to extensions that are pending UFAs. Clearly, they have a plan in place that they like. Kyle Davidson's going about it as he should, and good on him. He's got a vision. He's seeing it through, and we'll see where it leads him. Winnipeg, you got to put Winnipeg at the top. Now, Winnipeg has lost 2 in a row. So, on some level, there's room for them to maybe drop on a, say, power rankings, but on a panic index, nah. There wouldn't be any panic in Winnipeg. Now, I say that even though we don't know how long Morrissey's going to be out. I didn't mention it in the news video this morning because we don't know how long he's going to be out yet. That may very well change today, I would expect. We'll know over the next couple of days how long he's going to be out. Hopefully not. Hopefully he's ready to come back the next game. But minus Morrissey, that does really hurt Winnipeg. But for today's board, I'm putting them at the top. Seattle, right in the middle. 9-game winning streak, 4-game losing streak. Last night they beat Chicago, but they beat Chicago. Chicago still outshot them at points in that game. I thought Chicago outplayed them. Seattle, I mean, it's hard to put them in the panic region, right? Because they're only in their 3rd year. But yeah, Seattle, pretty good. Philadelphia. I mean, Hart's out now, so you've got Ersson, who's been pretty good. You got Peterson as the backup. They've had mixed results recently. I'm going to chicken out. I'm going to put them on the line because I can see reasons why people would be happy with Philadelphia and say, you know what, we're happy, things are going well. Or look at some of the recent games and say, the cracks are starting to show this team might very well fall out of the playoff race in the second half of the season. So there's the unpredictability factor with Philadelphia, so I'm putting them right in the middle. Hopefully John Tortorella doesn't call me up and say, hey, what's the deal? The Oilers, you can't put the Oilers anywhere but the top, can you? Yeah, the Oilers on a 14-game winning streak, I could try to argue panic, but why? So I'm not even going to try to argue panic for the Oilers. Nobody's in a panic state yet. This is a remarkably stable league that I don't see anybody on the panic side of things. Montreal, yeah, I'm going to put them here. I think most Montreal fans understand that this is not the year for playoffs. This isn't the year to buy and push towards playoffs. This is another year where you sell off at the deadline and see what you can do next season. So with the rumors that Monahan's going to be on the move soon, we'll see what they get back for him. That may very well telegraph to us what Kent Hughes' plan is. If you get a player back who can play for you right now, then maybe the plan is to stay in the hunt for the playoffs, but in all likelihood it'll probably be a draft pick, a prospect, that kind of thing for Monahan, because for Montreal, this is not the year. Buffalo. Yep. Panic. I would love to have them down here, but no. Buffalo is supposed to be better this year, and it depends on the game. You play against San Jose, and it didn't look like they really wanted it, and then the next night they beat LA, so is LA that bad, or is Buffalo just that inconsistent, or yes. So for Buffalo, yeah, I have to put them at the panic side of things, and I'm really sorry that the Buffalo Bills lost again. I know that's football and this is a hockey channel, but it's just painful to watch the Bills get close and then it just doesn't work. And the wind grabbed that kick. Like, don't harass the kicker when the grab. You can see the ball's going straight towards the upright, and then it just takes a steep turn to the right. So your anger is with the fact that Mother Nature doesn't want the Buffalo Bills to win in the playoffs. So, yeah, the Buffalo Sabres go to the panic side of things. Anaheim, right flat, smack dab, down next to phone for next season. Yeah, so they're going to be waiting for the draft lottery and all that other fun stuff. The Anaheim Ducks, they have a good young core there. They have some really good young players. It's just a matter now of figuring out who's going to fit into the long-term picture and who you're going to keep and who you're not going to and all that. and how you're going to supplement that lineup with veterans and all that. But that's more for next year, not really for this year. Carolina. Yep. Right now, yeah, you know what? I can't. And I'll explain why I can't. There's still the goaltending question with Carolina. So they pick up Spencer Martin. He played well against Boston because he plays well against Boston. What can I say? But there's still the goaltending question in Carolina. Ranta, iffy since coming back up from the AHL. Kachetkov hurt. Freddie Anderson. I haven't seen an update on Freddie Anderson in a while. So I think that while there'll be happiness, I can't put them right next to that how you doing, because how you doing means that's pretty cool. That's going pretty well. Or if you watch Friends, you know what it means. Which is not what I'm trying to insinuate here, but I just thought, hey, how you doing? That's a great magnet. I want to use that. Washington. The recent results have not been great, but expected probably. Washington was winning a lot of games about a month ago that I couldn't figure out how they won them. I was bewildered at the fact that it wasn't like, Ovechkin wasn't scoring. They weren't scoring goals. They weren't getting shots. But somehow at the end of the night, they had the winning score. And so that trip through California was really, really eye-opening that Washington was winning games they probably shouldn't have. Now they're losing those games. And so I'll put them down here. I'm not putting them in the panic area yet, but if it continues this way, maybe. Colorado. It's hard to argue Colorado doesn't belong at the very least here. So not quite at the very top. Colorado's still having a couple of losses last week, for instance. But Colorado's record in general is quite good. They're still first in their division. Winnipeg does have a couple games in hand on them, but in general, yeah, Colorado pretty happy. And again, if you want to put Colorado right at the top, go right on ahead. Get your own board out, get your 32 magnets, and then you can just say, I put Colorado right at the top. I feel good. I did some good work today. And then just call in sick and just say, I've peaked. My day has peaked. New Jersey. Not panicked yet, but getting there. If the New Jersey Devils can't get some consistency into their game, and understanding that, yeah, they're missing Jack Hughes, but they've got the goaltending issue as well that has not been addressed as of yet. There's some reason for concern with the New Jersey Devils, so I can't have them above the line. I can't even have them at the line. It's going to have to be below the line. San Jose, well, right here. San Jose has won their share of games. There's a few reasons. First off, they outwork their opposition almost every game now. So since the back-to-back games where they allowed 10 goals, Mike Greer read them the riot act, and clearly that helped with the work ethic. They don't just give up now when they're down a couple of goals. But do they have a playoff roster? No. They also managed to, I think, take advantage of teams that aren't playing their A game because they know that it's San Jose. And then you've got the Logan Couture factor where he's returned. I think that San Jose could be a very interesting team to watch in the second half of the season to see who stays and who goes going into next season. Ottawa. Yeah, still in panic. Ottawa's been better lately, but then the question comes out of, okay, so you're so far out of the playoffs. What is this team? Where are they going? What's going to happen? And I don't know that they necessarily have the answer to all that. Steve Stais saying today that they're still evaluating the team and everything. So I'm going to put Ottawa next to panic. Now, obviously, they've changed the coach, changed the GM, and they have a new owner. But which players are going to stay and which ones are going to go? Because that's really the next step. LA Kings. Yep. Panic for the LA Kings as well. So saving the panic teams, I guess, for last. And I just put them in a random order in my hand. But the Kings, it's been rough for them for over a month now. This is a team that is no longer the Road Warriors they were to start the season. This is a team that is just, they haven't been good enough over the last, I'd say, month or more, right? So last night's loss against Buffalo, that has to be a huge wake-up call for this team. We'll see. All right, and last but not least, Arizona. I'm going to put them just right down here. For Arizona, it's been up and down results for them. Rough loss last night against the Florida Panthers. Their playoff hopes not looking very positive, but keep in mind coming into the season, we didn't expect Arizona to be a playoff team anyways. So the fact that they've been in the conversation as long as they have is kind of a victory as it is. But yeah, some of their recent play, I'm going to put them next to the ick face. You guys can let me know where everything belongs in the comment section below. Again, this is just sort of a fun thing I like to do every couple of weeks when I remember. Sometimes I don't. So I apologize for not doing this yesterday, but hey, today could be yesterday too. Somewhere in the world today has to be yesterday, or today's tomorrow, and yesterday's tomorrow, and tomorrow's yesterday. It's all how physics works. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event that you haven't done so already. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. I will talk to you again soon.